Hello and welcome to Pointed Logic Tarot. I wanted to come on here and talk about your tarot budget. So what we have here is my spreadsheet of all of the tarot and oracle decks that I've purchased and Lenormand playing cards, as well as the ones I've gotten as gifts from folks and which ones I've decluttered. And we're going to just go over my sort of tarot history and tarot collection and experience, and then we will take a look at how much I spend on tarot decks per month, as well as in total in my 5 years of this as a hobby. I started with my very first tarot deck, which I ordered in April 2021, which was the Gentle Tarot. I just missed Mari's first Kickstarter for the Gentle Tarot. I saw it. I didn't know anything about Kickstarter, and I didn't know anything about tarot, but I was really drawn to the art. I ended up finding her pre-order page on Etsy at the time, which she now sells everything through her website. And I took a chance, pre-ordered it. It came not too long after, I want to say. Maybe it was May that it came. I'm pretty sure it was May. And so now that it is May 2026, it's officially 5 years of tarot. So let's dive right in, shall we? You know a tarot collector loves a spreadsheet. So let's talk about the color coding in my spreadsheet here. Over on this side are all of the decks. Yellow is tarot. Purple is oracle. And then blue is other, playing cards and Lenormand mostly. There's a couple of historic decks that aren't either tarot or oracle that are also in there. We have the creators here. How much I paid for them. So this is not necessarily like retail price or whatever. It's what I paid for the deck. So for example, I bought the Modern Witch Tarot used in 2022, and I paid $8 for it. I also tried to mark here how I received the deck, and if I've kept it or not. So we also have a total and a tally for decluttered. Green is gift, red is decluttered, and then orange is a deck that I haven't received yet. Oh yeah, there's a couple, I think. Maybe there's two. Because there's the Mini Mice Tarot and the Gentle Tarot Seed Edition. Those are the only two decks that I have paid for that I have not received yet. Okay. This price does not include things like tarot bags, tarot books, or dice, coins, other divination tools. So it's not necessarily the cost of the full hobby, of which is tarot, cartomancy, and divination. Nor is it like all of the reading and research and participation. Although I've never paid for any classes or anything, but I do, for example, I'm a subscriber to Mari's Patreon, so those costs are not calculated in this. So to that effect, it is not a total expense of the entire hobby. It is the expense of the deck collection portion of the hobby. I am a firm believer in decluttering as you go rather than doing a huge purge. And so I try and assess frequently. I don't have any particular major audit time or anything I do like that. When I look at my shelves, I just think about, do I use these? I am proud to say that every deck in here I've read with, even some of the unusual historic decks. You'll see I have sort of a slow start to my collecting, and then it really picks up and I collect a ton of decks in 2023. in 2024, and then it has slowed down since then. 2024 was definitely the biggest year for it. The majority of what I own are tarot decks, followed by Oracle, and then followed after that by other. Let's just start with decluttered and go down, and then we'll get to the reveal. So, the Sacred Journey Oracle was a really cool deck that I got. It's an indie deck. It was by Linda Fabry. I don't know if it's still available. That's one I gave away. I used it for quite a bit, but I did not enjoy the cardstock. It was like a glossy, kind of sticky deck. So eventually, as I started to learn more about what I liked, that one I gave away as a gift. This one, I also, the Linen Edition, gave away. Something else you'll note is not a lot of the gifts stay. So for example, I won the Glow Oracle in a giveaway, and it was really cool, but it was just not for me. It was an animal deck with a keyword. It was neat, it was pretty, but it wasn't something I would have bought myself. And so typically you'll see that the decluttering often happens as a gift. Now, if it's something that I had on a wish list, for example, I had Star Trek Tarot on the wish list and I had a dear friend buy that for me as a gift, that one is still in my collection. This one was a gift as well, the Tiny Universal, the little mini cards. That one has been really cool because I used that in art projects, and I did readings for people where they got to keep the little mini cards. I gave them as gifts, and then eventually when I had maybe like a third of the deck left, I gave it to my very sweet yoga instructor who can give out the cards at the end of a session until they're gone, and so that the participants can enjoy them there. This one is one that I did buy. This one was on my wish list for a while, and the art was really pretty, and I ended up going in person while I was on vacation to a couple of different metaphysical stores, and it was so cool and the people were so nice that I kind of was like, oh, is there anything in here for me to buy to support local? So that's not necessarily the best way to go about something. And in this case, I didn't get on, especially not with the guidebook. It was a little too new agey witchcraft for me. And so I put that up on the like tarot trade kind of a thing and gave it to somebody. Another thing you'll notice in my declutters is sometimes I get a deck and then I want a different version of that same deck. So for example, you'll see here the Modern Witch Tarot German edition. So I bought Modern Witch Tarot by Liminal 11 used for $8. Really love that deck. Didn't like the cardstock. When I discovered that the German edition had better cardstock, I asked for that and I got it as a gift. And so then I decluttered the original. This one was a gift that I decluttered. Tarot in Space. Okay, this one was so fun and I really enjoyed it. But then I saw on a video a tarot friend who had it on her wish list and really wanted it, loved it, couldn't get it easily. And so I ended up giving it to her because I thought she would enjoy it more. The pocket edition of Cosmovisions, I decluttered, gave it away to someone. That's because I wanted the bigger version. I also like to mark new or used so that I see how well I'm doing on trying to find things used or supporting local or supporting indie. I try not to buy, especially not mass market decks, new as much as I can. I definitely have sometimes. But so, for example, Tarot for the Great Outdoors I got used, Seed and Sickle I got used, the first Modern Witch, or the OG Modern Witch printing I got used. Some of my historic decks I got used just because of the nature of them. This was another one I got as a gift that I decluttered. This was another Star Trek Tarot that I wanted and had on a wish list. This one I got as a gift, and I really enjoyed it. And I'd actually decluttered it because I wanted a bigger version, so I ended up getting the Visconti di Madrone and decluttering this one, but by decluttering it, I gave it away. Not a single deck in here has ever been like thrown out or anything. They have all found good homes. This Blooming Cat Tarot I also sent to another Tarot 2 person who didn't have it and was interested in it, so it's really fun to be able to sort of pay it forward if it's not one that I'm getting much out of. This was a gift from someone who was like, hey, you like tarot, right? And it was, a cool deck, but not for me. So immediately. So some of the ones that are listed as decluttered, I never read with. I just turned around and said, hey, here's a brand new deck. Does somebody want it? And I try my best to give them away. The other thing in this I've noted as I'm scrolling through is the price in the Kickstarters are the full Kickstarter. So I didn't pay $120 for one deck. It's everything that I got, all the add-ons. Okay, we're getting down into 2026. Oh, hey, actually. So I have this one marked as decluttered, How to Be a Moonflower Oracle by Katie Daisy. This deck is currently sitting on my desk. I got it as a gift, but it's certainly not for me. So if you want it, comment down below and I'll do a random drawing for this deck and contact you so that I can send it your way. As long as you're in the US, I can pay for shipping. But yeah, so again, try and pay it forward and share. Ooh, and then the Illuminated Tarot I got as a trade. So I paid for the shipping, which I put here, because that's how much it cost me to ship a deck to this person who then shipped this one to me, if that makes sense. But so for the most part, I tried to be consistent with price. Okay, are we ready for the reveal? The most recent deck I got was the Rosenwald Minchiati deck by Heather Hall as a gift. It was very lovely. I'm very excited about it. So, in total, I have spent $2,848 on tarot, oracle, and cartomantic deck collecting. It's a lot. It is over the course of 5 years. The total number of tarot decks I have collected is 46. The total number of oracle is 26. The total number of playing cards / Lenormand is 18. And out of all of those, I have decluttered 12. So, the way that I've calculated the cost per deck, when I get one as a gift, the cost on average goes down. When I declutter one, the cost on average goes up because I paid for it, but then gave it away. And that increases the overall cost of the total remaining decks because I got rid of one that I paid money for. Does that make sense? So that helps me stay honest about my actual expense here. So I have currently in my collection 78 decks. And on average, that's $36.52. $36.52 US for decks, which isn't too bad if you think about it. But because I have 78 of them, that's why this number is so high. The last little bit of math I'll do for you, which I don't actually have on my spreadsheet, so let me pull up my calculator here, is to calculate the cost per month. And the way I'm going to calculate that is because it's actually been exactly 5 years, I'm going to put in 60 months divided by the total cost of $2,848 divided by 60 months of tarot deck collecting. And that number is $47.46. So that's the average per month I spend on this hobby of deck collecting, which is not insignificant, y'all. That's like a deck and a half per month if you base it on this average cost. So basically, I buy 1 or 2 decks per month over the last 5 years on average, with the average cost of $36.52. So this is a hefty amount of money and something that I really need to keep in mind. I don't do this to like shame myself or anyone else who collects decks. I do this so that I am aware, and I am aware of my consumption, because I try to be a diligent consumer and person that, uses what I have, and I don't have a bunch of stuff on my shelf that just collects dust. I want to get something out of it. Similar to, when I read books, if it's not a book I'm going to read again, I try and find it a new home so it gets more use and gets read by somebody else. And if it is a book I refer to again and again, I'll keep it on my shelf. Maybe I'll do a tour of my bookshelf sometime if folks are interested in that. So you can see a little library of like books that have stayed with me. I don't have, unfortunately, any kind of like book tracking. I've never done that. I can share generally genres, interests, and subjects that I've read about and enjoy. But the mainstays and my again and again books are the ones that are still on my bookshelf. But yeah, so if you're wondering, I have 78 decks in my collection, on average $36, and I spend almost $50 a month on tarot decks. Now, if you want to adjust or consciously tweak your deck collecting, figure out your total, your average per deck, and your average per month. Every person's average per deck is going to be unique because it depends on how many you find used, how many you get as gifts, how many you get rid of, because if you declutter a lot of decks that you've bought, you're then going to increase your average. And how many you buy indie versus mass market. Not that I'm condoning buying a ton of mass market. I really do encourage more, a few indie. And I don't have, marked here which ones are indie, which ones are mass market, which ones are out of print. That's all additional metadata you could add to your spreadsheet. I have a very simple one here: deck name, creator, price, and date. And if I've decluttered it or not. You would want to, if you want to reduce your costs but continue to collect as a hobby or enjoy your tarot deck collection, what you would want to figure out is your average cost per deck, and then your average per month, and what you actually want to spend per month. And that way you then can calculate, based on your average cost per deck, how many decks you can buy a month, or every 3 months, or every 6 months, something to that effect. And that will help you then participate in a hobby you enjoy mindfully. Additionally, if you reduce your decks purchase per month, but you do receive some as gifts, your cost per deck on average will go down. And then that would also allow you, at the end of the year, to reassess your total and your cost per deck. Mindful budgeting helps improve your flexibility or your spending money. I'm currently in sort of a personally tight financial situation because I've got 2 kids in daycare, and that's really expensive. So I have been more carefully tracking my spending the last couple of months. And at the end of May, I'm going to sit down with my partner, and we're going to go through and more carefully figure out how we want to budget for the summer and the fall here. And we currently have an average fund money amount per month, and I stay within that. And I still actually have a little bit additional with the average of $47 per month of tarot. However, we're going to cut it back, so then I'm going to try and adjust my number of decks per month and really cut back. But rather than be no decks or the whole like binge and purge cycle, or what do people call it? A depth year or something. Like, obviously, I want to work hard on enjoying the decks that I use and not always look and focus on what's new, what's next. And I have various different activities I do. I'm doing a Marseille deep dive that has been so much fun, and I should make a video on that soon too. But all that to say, if you can just sort of keep it in your budget and at the top of mind in a bite-sized way, you can more easily still enjoy the hobby. Obviously, there's a lot of privilege with even having a budget of fun money, and I am keenly aware of that as my fun money budget has evaporated with my time off on parental leave and now my kiddos both in daycare. So I'm going to have to really adjust and be careful whilst also still able to enjoy tarot in many ways. I'm going to link in the description Sarah at Tangy Tarot's lovely video on low and no cost tarot activities and gifts, which are really fun, and some things you can think about yourself for revitalizing your tarot activities and tarot practices without purchasing more stuff. So I hope this was a fun and helpful exercise for you. Let me know down below, do you have a tarot spreadsheet? What do you track in it? And how many decks are in your collection? Or do you know? Have you counted them lately? And how many decks have you decluttered? Do you count that? Hope you're all doing well. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.